like all the Shia Muslims are heathens and they're going to hell. So we have those similar type of tensions within ourselves, and it's a constant process of work. And thank God that our Muslim leadership here are conscious of these things, and we're actively working on programs and strategies and ways in which we can work through our own internal drama and our internal challenges.
Well, one of the things that happens is, patience is really a cardinal virtue. Unfortunately, a lot of people, and again, this is not isolated to the Muslim community by any stretch, they confuse patient with being passive. And so they will sit there in their quiet desperation or their quiet laziness and refuse to engage. And one doesn't have the luxury to be able to be passive in a world that is moving too quickly and is moving in directions that may not be ones that are comfortable for people. And so this notion of how to engage in a society that becomes more increasingly impersonal through technology, where communication is done between two people sitting next to each other, but silently because they're texting each other. I mean, these are some of the things of so-called progress and modernity. And we find that Muslims are no different than others of having to try to contend with modernity and being made to feel either as though they are themselves nothing more than machines or being dictated by machines.
Where were you when I went to college? That's all I have to say. Anyway, we have somebody from the audience with a comment.
Hi, my name is Charles Ballard, and I just want to make a point here. You know, in society today, we have numerous of religions, and Islam and Christianity is not the only religion that's on. So I don't understand why there's a thing of such called Islamophobia. That's crazy, in my opinion, or Christianity phobia, whatever phobia. If you don't agree with it, you just don't agree with it. There's no such thing as phobia. But you don't see Christians going to war against Rastafarians or Hindus or Buddhists, or you don't see Muslims going against Rastafarians, other religions. Why is it just that it's Christianity and Muslims always having a problem with each other around the world? I guess, I don't know, maybe is it, do you not feel, or anybody out there in the world feel that it's from the media, poisoning the minds of people? So therefore, you could really realize that education does play a role into how people think, because people are educated with the things of the media, and they also act upon it. If people was educated on proper things of all religion, then they'll act on it, because all religion comes from one creator. All the religions are nothing but a way of life. It's really not, it's a way of life, but people have differences with each way of life, and we can't get away from it. We are all different. We are different races and different human beings, so you're going to have different ways of dealing with things. But why can't Christianity and Islam learn to live with each other like Christianity is okay with Rastafarians in the world, or Muslims are okay with Hindus in the world? That's my question.
I want to thank you, by the way, for being my guide earlier this evening. You were very helpful.
You're welcome.
You were great company. I appreciate it. And we're just about up against another break. I think that it's important as we look around the room today, and I had started off with saying that I hope that we were going to provide a platform for healing. And I don't know that we've done that, but I don't know that we didn't do that. And I think that's what makes this conversation extraordinary for me. I've learned a great deal. I've learned even a little bit about myself this evening, and that's never a bad thing, ever. But Charles does bring up something important that we have a little bit of time left in the hour, and that is how foreign policy affects the way American Muslims are perceived. And we have to be honest about it. What happens in the world, you have to wear, and especially never the good stuff. Talk about the media, Charles. The media is a huge part of this problem. The media doesn't care because it sells newspapers and it gets viewers to watch TV. We're going to see what happens when Al Jazeera TV is fully in charge in this country and the truth comes out about what's happening here, because we don't get the truth from American media. We certainly don't. Anyway, how problematic is what's happening worldwide, and that you have to wear all of those problems here in this country? Because there's no relation between that and you.
Well, I think that there is a relationship that people have to what's happening beyond the shores. For Muslims, there is this connectivity to a worldwide Muslim community known as the Ummah. Beyond that, though, there is a very large immigrant Muslim community in the United States that still maintains ties through several generations with countries of native origin, whether those come from South Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, the Middle East, or elsewhere. Familial ties, cultural ties, even ties dealing with cuisine, create these bonds which sometimes are stronger than even those that they have to their own citizenship or country of citizenship. But beyond that, they also see themselves as being fully Muslim and fully American. And what do I mean by that? That when they engage on issues of foreign policy, they feel as though this is an extension of themselves being citizens. That if they see something within American foreign policy which goes against their sensibilities, they are going to then go ahead and exercise through their civic engagement, through their political participation as citizens of this country, as their rights to do so, to speak out against it, to protest it, to oppose it. And unfortunately, what we've had is over the last several decades, American involvement in the Muslim world that hasn't been very positive.
All right, we need to take one last break here. By the way, folks, we have 9 minutes when we come back. I'm going to give you each 2, so start thinking about what you want to do, and then we have to wrap it up and get out of here for the day. But before we do that, we do need to take one more break. God bless all of you. I mean that. Let's take the break here. We'll be back on Night Shift right after this. All right, folks, it's just about 10 minutes before the top of the hour, but we have to give 2 of those back to the radio station. So I'm going to start with the lovely lady at the end. Just anything that's on your mind, please feel free to share any thoughts you have with this audience. I don't want to talk too much because I'm going to take up everybody's time.
What to say?
Put the microphone right in front of you, please. There you go.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's definitely it's been an enlightening session, and do you want me to respond regarding foreign policy?
Whatever you would like to talk about. Whatever you want to talk about. It's your time.
All right. I mean, I just want to say thank you for having us. It's really been enlightening, and I hope the audience that's hearing us, hopefully they can get together. Even if it's within your university, school, we all have, our MSA, Muslim students, Jewish students, Christian students, Hindus, and I really hope they get together and learn from one another, because I know during my time in undergrad, we had a session with the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim community, and instead of focusing on our differences, we focused on what we have in common, and we went from there, and it was it started a good relationship.
Well, thank you for participating this evening. Professor?
Well, I'd like to share my gratitude for you holding and hosting the show, Tony. I mean, this has been really a wonderful experience. I think that the focus on the Muslim community and on Islam from an educational standpoint is certainly important. But regarding the targeting of the community, it's misguided, because there are so many bigger issues facing all Americans, and particularly as we go through this new phase of transition that America is facing over the next 30 years. It's vital for people to get together and to see the bigger issues than these phantom menaces that have been created. And in the process of doing so, there is the optimism that America does have within it a unique ability compared to other countries. It has a system reset button that after periods of great turmoil, after periods of strife that do demonize communities, that the country has the ability to move beyond that. It's not a perfect system. There is some backwash when it comes to that reset. But by and large, we do find throughout American history that coming through some of these darker periods, these groups do become American. And that is a moment for optimism, I think, for Muslims in America as well.
Well, thank you as well. I appreciated all that you had to say. Dawood, we'll let you round it up for us.
Well, again, I thank you for this opportunity, Tony. And I'd say to my fellow Michiganians and people who are listening on the internet, even across the country right now, for us to reset our thinking and not look at the least, or I should say the least, or the worst of the behaviors of the Muslims, but point and look at the Muslims how you want your own group looked at, is to set the standard at the best, not the worst. So when you think of Muslims politically, I urge you not to think about some tyrant that is actually backed by the U.S. government somewhere in the Middle East. Think of State Representative Rashida Tlaib, who's dealing with the day-to-day issues here in Michigan. Instead of thinking about some nut that's with the Taliban, think about platinum-selling artist, rapper Lupe Fiasco. I mean, if you just want to take a look at who we as American Muslims are, we are contributing so much to this society and its overall positive, just like other fellow Americans.
Did you want to say something before? Please grab the microphone and you can say whatever you'd like.
Okay. My name is Dr. Noor Moussaoui. I'm actually Isra Moussaoui's sister.
Is her microphone on? Can you make sure that mic's on?
Oh, now it's on.
There we go.
Okay. My name is Dr. Noor Moussaoui. I'm Isra Moussaoui's older sister. I just wanted to quickly make a small interjection and a point. I wanted to encourage all the listeners and all the people that are out there tonight listening to us, to this wonderful panel and all these wonderful ideas, and maybe to scale down the solutions to Islamophobia just a tad, because many of us need to perhaps be more proactive and work on our communities and on our levels. Not everyone can reach a high level of interaction and deal with really big policies, but we could all somehow interact and be proactive in our small communities to make small changes. It could be something as simple as children in elementary school, baking, cupcakes in Ramadan, explaining what it is. What's the point of fasting? Why do we, worship one God? What's the point of being good to people? Why do we be kind to our neighbors? If you have a neighbor and it's a holiday of theirs, take a bakery, take a pastry to them. If you are on a higher level university scale, perhaps we did this earlier. We used to do this when I was at U of M Ann Arbor, and I did this last year. It was by just the grace of God. I was kind of walking by the U of M Ann Arbor's campus, and the MSA had set up the Muslim Student Association, and they had little printed sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. So I decided to get some flowers, attach the little sayings to them, and just pass them out. You can't believe how many people came up to me and said, "Thank you, that was kind. We didn't know that about the Prophet Muhammad. We didn't know, just your smile and kindness and your scarf on your head, that's a message that you're sending that is dispelling all this hate that's going on and all this ignorance, And I always say, if someone approaches me, I encourage people to approach Muslims and ask them, why are you practicing this? What is the reason? Approach them, because most of the Muslims are very open to explain and educate, especially when the question is coming from a kind heart and questioning this. And it starts little. It starts little people, communities, colleges, universities, and even in the work area, the professionals. When I was in dental school, you can't believe how many people approached me and said, your scarf and mannerisms said a lot about your religion. And I didn't have to say a word. And that goes back to even a prophetic saying that says, be educators without saying words sometimes. Just be a good representation, and you need to educate yourself. As Muslims, we need to read in the Quran. We need to have knowledge to spread it. How can I teach anyone if I am an empty vessel myself?
The pebble in the pond. I mean,
yeah.
it's that simple. Where do you practice dentistry?
I practice right now. I'm an associate in Ypsilanti, Michigan, but I've been an associate in anywhere from Farmington Hills to Dearborn Heights.
I'm trying to send you some new patients is what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
No, thank you. And we were talking during one of the breaks. I think that, and my 2 cents worth before we have to wrap things up. It seems to me that we oftentimes make things much harder than they have to be. You certainly remind us by that simple act of kindness. I often go back, and people actually make fun of it, which sickens me. Rodney King's infamous, "Why can't we all just get along?" It is the simplest idea. And of course, we can all just get along. It's a choice to not get along. It's a choice to ignore something. You know, envy and greed and hatred and all of those things that are counter to what everybody in this room is really about, but not everybody in this room is going to be with us everywhere we go. And whether you're an evangelical, or you're a Muslim, or you're a Catholic, or you're trying to find your way, or you're an atheist, kindness doesn't need faith. It just needs belief. And with that, we have to leave. Thank you all. God bless you all. And we will do this again. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, have a good night. As always, I ask that you be well.